What's your name, how old are you, and where are you from?
Okay, my name is Margaret Cavendish. I'm 68 years old. I know, shocking, isn't it? And I'm from Colchester in Essex, but I haven't been there since I was 10 weeks old. I've lived all over the world because my father was in the army and then my husband was in the army. I count myself a Yorkshire woman because North Yorkshire is where I went to school. Why am I a teacher? Because when I got my PhD, I was working at Reading as a researcher, a scientific researcher. And as part of that, my supervisor sent me to work on the Open University summer schools because she said, look, you do this, it's free training. Because if you're going to be a university lecturer, which is what I thought I was going to be, you need to be able to teach. So go to OU, do the summer school, they pay you money, it's great. So off I went and I loved it. I completely loved breaking something down and explaining it in a way that somebody who didn't understand it before now understood it. And it's like this great gift that you can go, here, look, chunk, chunk, chunk. Oh yeah, now you get it. So yes, then I realised that I actually liked the teaching bit more than I liked the research bit. So I decided to be a teacher. And then I saw a job advert and I rang them up and said, I'm not a trained teacher, but I do have a post-16 teaching certificate. And they went, please come. So I did. And stayed for 20 years.
Ooh. So when you were younger, did you like going to school?
As I mentioned earlier, I went to boarding school and it was brutal. And the teachers were the sort of inadequates who wouldn't have lasted half a term in a state school. It was vicious. I mean, I'm sure you remember coming home from school at night and just going blah, 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 and unloading everything to your mum. Yeah? Just imagine if you have to wait 3 months before you see your mum. And at a boarding school, bullying goes on 24/7. Like even in the middle of the night, they can still get you. So, as I said earlier, my therapist says I might recover one day. But it is 50 years since I left school, so I ought to be over it soon. I'm at psychology. I love it. So when I got into university, I went on to do a psychology degree. And I love it because it's not one subject. It's about a dozen different subjects all under one umbrella. So some people are, biological psychologists, and some people are a little bit more esoteric than that. And the whole thing is, well, I love it.
What are the 3 elements of tripartite?
The 3 elements, right. Freud described your personality as a psychodrama that's playing out in your head the whole time between the different elements of your personality. So, there's a lot more to it than that, but basically, it's like you have a boardroom in your brain and 3 different people sitting at the table saying, this is what we should do, no, this is what we should do, yeah? Discussing it. So the first part is called the id. Id, das Ich, the I, the me, myself. Babies are born id. And the id is the bit that seeks luxury, that seeks pleasure, that wants, I want it, and I want it now. You know, the id is the bit that strokes your soft fabrics and that eats the nice chocolates, and even when you know you shouldn't really. And some people describe the id as like a selfish little devil with devil horns. But I think another way is to look at a baby. And nobody, you know, if a baby is crying and taking up your attention, nobody would say, oh, the baby's being selfish, because that would just be ridiculous. So the id is, yes, a little demon, but also a little baby. And it doesn't understand that it can't have what it wants all the time. Yeah. The next bit is the ego meaning self. And the ego is like on a seesaw, trying to balance the demands of the id against reality. You know, a baby only has to be a few months old before it knows that when it cries, mummy can't always come straight away. Sometimes it has to wait a little bit. And it's not just reality. The ego has to balance the demands of the id, the demands of reality, against the superego, which is the third component of the tripartite personality. And the superego, ideal, which is the perfect version of you, and the other part of the superego is the conscience. And the conscience is the one that picks on you and bullies you when you don't live up to your ego ideal. So the conscience is the little voice that says you're fat and lazy and stupid, and your room stinks, and your house is a mess, and you really don't do anything that you should be doing because you're useless. Useless. And it's that little voice that constantly is down on you because you're not living your super ideal, unless you actually are, but I don't think anybody really does. Okay, so that's the tripartite model.
How does hypnosis and the mental model of Freud are linked together with the human mind?
So I do Freudian analysis, which is unpicking the interaction between the three elements of the personality. Only I do that under hypnosis, because a bit of Freud's model that we haven't talked about yet is the conscious-subconscious division. And the idea is that your conscious mind, like all the stuff that you're aware of, is a tiny, tiny little bit of your whole mind. So all the stuff you can hear and see and think and everything is your conscious. And you think that's your whole mind, but it actually isn't. There's another layer to your mind called the preconscious, and that's all the stuff that's in your memory that you could call up if you wanted to. And then there's another whole area which is called the subconscious, which is 100 times bigger than your conscious mind, at least 100 times bigger. Like, if you were to fill Wembley Stadium with memory chips, it still wouldn't have as much as your subconscious mind. Because your subconscious mind knows everything that ever happened to you. Everything you ever saw, everything you ever thought, everything you ever felt, everything you smelled, everything you ate, everything that ever happened to you is stored in there. Now obviously if that was all in your conscious mind, you won't be able to walk down the street. There'd just be too much going on. So there's an element called the conscious critical faculty, which keeps all that stuff in the subconscious so you can just deal with everyday life as it's going on. Now the thing about hypnosis is that it allows a person to relax to the extent that the conscious critical faculty loosens and allows some things to bubble up from your subconscious so that you can examine them in your conscious mind. And if you're in a therapeutic session, so you're warm, you're safe, you're comfortable, you're secure, you know that you'll be all right because you're being looked after, then scary things from your subconscious can come up to the surface, and you can look at them and decide whether they're scary or not. Things that happen, say, when you're a small child, might have been very scary because you didn't understand what was going on. If you're able to examine that in the light of your adult brain, you might find that actually it's not scary at all, and it's not something you need to be worried about. So hypnosis allows you to access the subconscious mind through a relaxation of the conscious critical faculty.
So when you were talking about hypnosis, have you ever done hypnotherapy, or did you ever used to do hypnotherapy?
I have done it myself, because as part of your training you have to go through hypnotherapy yourself. And yes, I have used it with clients. I've stopped doing it because I'm retired and because I don't have to. It is very rewarding
What
to
do you mean
help
by
somebody
that?
who's stuck in their life. I think I mentioned it to you. I had somebody and he was he felt frustrated that he couldn't move forward with his life. He couldn't move forward with his relationship. He couldn't move forward with his job. He couldn't make a decision about anything. And he wanted to know, what is it about me that makes me so stuck and I feel frustrated? And so we took him through hypnosis again and again and again, and we eventually came up with a memory. And it's funny, but you always sort of know when it's a trigger memory, because they talk about it in a very dismissive way. And you, oh, okay. And then you come round to it again, and then it comes back again, and then you think, oh, this one might be important. And his trigger memory was of his dad losing his job and coming home and crying, which for a small boy was really scary. And his mum saying, what's plan B? And he'd taken that deep inside himself, that you can never choose a plan because you've always got to have plan B. And so his subconscious mind was saying, don't make a decision, don't settle on one thing, because there's got to be a plan B. And once we talked about it, he went, but that is actually ridiculous. I went, oh, here it is. Anyway, he moved ahead, he left his job, set up a business, and invited me to his wedding. So, yeah.
Pretty successful then.
Pretty successful. He was a lot happier.
But they are all the questions I have.
That's
for you
all the
today.
questions.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.